Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast. My name is Robert Schnetsky. Today we are joined by the co-founder of Obvi, Mr. Ron Shah. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Doing well. Trying to stay indoors.
Yeah, that's our current status pretty much around the country and around the world these days. It's life in the new world order. We'll see how quickly we get back to some semblance of normalcy in the coming
Yeah.
weeks, hopefully by midsummer. Hopefully everything is more or less back to what we're accustomed to dealing with here stateside.
Yeah, whatever the new normal is going to be, right?
Exactly. So every time I have a first-time guest on the show, I always like to get their origin story because we all come from different backgrounds. Some people start as, clerks in supplement shops. Other people have really weird backgrounds and entries into the industry like I did from an engineering background. Other people just jump in and just decide to start a brand. So, you've been in the game for a while here in the supplement industry. So walk people through how you started in the industry and came to co-found Obvi.
Absolutely. If you go back to kind of where supplements kind of got introduced in my life and also actually in my partners, my two other partners, Ankit and Ashwin's life, we actually all kind of brought us together. We started our journey. We were actually on the early team of a brand called Shreds, which I think a lot of people are familiar with in whatever aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in, it was 2013, where we had basically got an opportunity. It was actually my partner, Ankit, who was brought on to Shreds to kind of handle a lot of the digital media, designing, branding, ended up, helping with the branding of Skinny Bunny Tea, Flavor God, Shreds, and kind of working on that entire, at one point a conglomerate. I was actually his roommate from college, and I would see him working kind of, crazy hours at Shreds. And
Mm-hmm.
my background was actually an accountant. I was working at Deloitte, and this was so incredible to see him work two shifts. So at Shreds, the culture was 9 to 5, go home, shower, eat,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come back around 8 or 9 p.m. and work till about 3 a.m. 6 days a week.
Wow.
And we all lived in the same exact apartment complex and stuff. So his role kind of stumbled upon because he just ran into a person that worked there. But for me, it kind of came out where, hey, we're looking for some help in the finance accounting portion.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of just started and took that leap of faith, because when you kind of have a background of accounting and stuff, you can always kind of come back to it, right?
Yeah.
So took that leap of faith, and it was such an amazing learning experience, a pure startup experience. But after that, it kind of became where, all right, well, what do I do on my night shift? Because as a financial controller, there was only so much finance work you can do. So I started learning marketing. Actually ended up handling kind of the analytics and marketing department as my role grew, as the company grew to almost 100 employees. My third partner, Ashwin, he's a little bit younger than us, but he graduated from school and actually came and joined Shreds right away.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we built Shreds up, and I think best thing out of it was learning moments that we had, where no matter what happens at the end of the day, if you can learn something from and extrapolate kind of the important pieces, I think that's what took us on our next journey, which was we started our own marketing agency from there, called Ghost 3 Media. Ghost 3 Media, and Ghost 3 Media is actually still there today, even though we're a lot of our time goes to Obvi. We started an agency where we said, hey, we've learned so many things with building some brands with our time at Shreds and whatnot. Let's apply this. And so we came in with some cool characteristics, where someone like Ashwin, who kind of really understands paid media, Ankit, who can brand and design almost anything from scratch. And then from my end, really bringing in a lot of the pieces of the analytic portion, and also just understanding kind of the landscape and the environment. So we were able to go into and work with different brands, more so like a boutique agency, and say, listen, we're going to come in, we're going to redo your website, we're going to redo your labels, branding, and we're going to come and set up your ads so your direct response marketing can be right off the ground running. Worked on, till date, almost 30 clients now. And, may not seem like a big number because it's been almost 5 years since we've been running the agency, but every client we worked on has gone in super deep, where we came in and really, really worked on the business for some time. So with that, we worked on some great brands like Aloha, which was a vegan protein line. And then, our most recent project was working on Sparta Nutrition, where we helped bring what they had for hardcore Kraken to something completely redesigned and branded and new.
Right.
Did some work with, Olympus and really learned a lot of different elements through the businesses we land. But, fast forward to 2019, January, I think we hit that point where, okay, we've been 5 years in building businesses for others, right? And obviously, most successful, some have learned harder lessons than others. But overall, what we learned was, I think we've gotten past the glitz and glamour of seeing big numbers or seeing something grow really big, and actually seeing, oh, well, this is how you do it sustainably. So we wanted to go and apply that, and we wanted to get out of the kind of crowded space that we're seeing in the sports nutrition, but not completely lose our roots. Hence, going into collagen, which is in the special space of nutracosmetics, right? Cosmetic benefits through nutrition. And it's such a special space because it's not that there isn't too many players or not, but there's a lot of flexibility on how to be what you may call innovative, whatever that value of that word is nowadays, right? So, we started January, started to do R&D. The thing with collagen is it's hard to master flavor. So when we decided with collagen, it was cool, but it was also, all right, we're going to have to get to work. We did about almost just under 60 sample runs over the course of 6 months it took. It was pretty incredible. But one thing we were pretty sure about was we wanted to bring that one thing from the the sports nutrition industry, which is in the protein space, you're seeing these fun flavors. You're seeing you're seeing even legendary brands or legacy brands trying to incorporate it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun flavors, and collagen was missing that. So that's why it took us much longer than just creating a simple chocolate or a simple vanilla or tropical fruit. Once we nailed it, we launched June 1st, and launched just with 2 flavors, pretty simple formula as well. We redid our formula, and honestly, since then it was history. We sold out in 25 days of our initial run, and saw the proof of concept and said, well, guys, this is more than just a brand we created outside of our agency. This could be something that's much bigger than that.
Fascinating. So I'd like to rewind back to when you were with Ghost 3 Media, and rebranding has become more in vogue in the past couple of years. We see more brands doing it now these days than ever. When you're consulting and going about rebranding whatever brand, can you walk the listeners through that process? Is it you identify a niche where you see that the brand could morph into? Does the brand approach you with a concept saying, hey, we may be going down this lane, but we'd like to maybe pivot, and either if we're a hardcore brand, we want to soften our edge, or if we're kind of viewed as a softer brand, we want to kind of, make ourselves seem a little bit rougher, tougher, or more of like a hardcore athlete. So how does that work? How do those discussions, and you don't have to give specifics, but give a general idea of the process of a rebranding?
I think there's 2 elements to it. One is you're looking at the current landscape, right? And you're saying, all right, well, there's certain things working, certain things people are doing that are good. And it's not about copying or imitation. It's more so, well, this is a proof of concept through your competitor, right? And your competitor landscape. And then you have stuff like the Facebook ad library, which gives you the ability to look at anybody's ads that are running or ways people are running things, which gives you the idea of, okay, well, not only is this rebrand out there or brand out there, they're also doing stuff successfully, which means it's being received well, right? So you take those 2 elements and then you say, all right, well, that's what the landscape has. Then you incorporate what, a client may say, hey, I want to go soft, or I want to become a brand that's for everybody, not just this one dimension of person. And you take that part into consideration. And then, to be honest, I'll give 100% credit to Ankit, who kind of is that creative genius where takes those pieces and really just has a vision, and he kind of goes away for a couple days, and then he'll send you at like 5:30 in the morning, he'll send you a concept, and you're just like, that's it. And honestly, he probably can't also explain sometimes how he comes to it, but I think it's a really good mix of some of the elements that may be working out there with a mix of, all right, the client also has to be happy, and mesh those 2. But I think a lot of it is kind of extrapolating some of the data points that are available to literally everybody now. It's not like you're hiding behind, getting numbers from people. It's what you're seeing out there. You're able to put two and two together now. And I think that helps a lot.
With social media advertising, is there a way to game the system at all? And if there is, you don't have to give away how y'all are doing it, but or is it more about just pure dollars and cents that the biggest spenders are going to be the ones that are going to see the biggest return on their Facebook ads?
It's a good question. I actually think the answer is you have to be able to stomach the idea of what is kind of loosely said testing. And testing in social media is actually just a game of weeding out the people that aren't meant for it. And what I'm trying to mean by that is, if you have a concept, and let's say you have some good branding, you have a good product, and you're able to support it with certain data points, if you can stomach the idea of testing, which comes down to getting the creative made, right? Getting multiple variations of that, testing multiple levels of audiences. It's not just one audience and say, it didn't work. And then giving it the time it needs, right? It takes sometimes 2 to 3 months, 60, 90 days of testing and saying, all right, this didn't work. This combination worked. Let's double down. Let's triple down. Let's have to reset. And if you're able to get through that 60, 90 days of patch, and there's no numerical value, right? It really could be as much as $100 a day or as little as $10 a day, whatever you're willing to test. But if you're able to come out of that alive and say, hey, listen, I found some winners, and there is a group of people that I found that can buy this product. I need to find more of them. If you're able to kind of go through that hazing period, I think that's the real kind of, it's just being able to kind of sit there and say, I'll be patient and I'll wait, because there is opportunity. And I think it goes to the saying of a lot of people say is you're able to sell a lot of different things online, right? So it's not that there is no opportunity for certain things. It's are you patient enough to find the pocket?
Gotcha. With going through that line, obviously you are as a brand owner, but you've also worked as a marketing consultant. So do you see a bigger return on investment with social media ads versus the influencer model, where you try to get, you sign some, big name athlete and you tell them to start hyping your products left and right on their pages? Because I've heard reports of some companies spending upwards of 6 figures a month on like Facebook ads or Google ads or something like that. And that just seems like an astronomical number. Now, granted, it's relative to the size of the company and how much product they're moving, but is it more brand dependent on which model is more successful, influencer versus Facebook ads or Google ads, or is it more? Is there more of a blanket answer where one is clearly just more effective than the other?
No, it's a good question, and I think what there's a piece to this that is so much kind of correlated to the origin and background of the people running the brand. When we came from Shreds and our timeline and our journey, our work was almost at all time correlated to running Facebook ads or some sort of paid media, right? And that's the art we learned. Like you look at my partner Ashwin, he knows ads inside and out on every platform, right? If we were kind of brought up with the idea of, hey, influencers, these are the relationships you have from day one, and you can pick up the phone and say, I can get it in the hand of 10 people that have 10 million following or not. If you have that, I think it's an extremely great way to kind of get things going, because you'll probably see a response much quicker than the testing time it takes on something like an ad platform. But I think so much of it is reliant on relationship building. You have to have those relationships, or you're going to be spending a lot of money that you're not too sure about on the return. Whereas with ads, the reason why we'll be comfortable spending, let's say, 6 figures, in a month, is because you can almost at least say, hey, listen, if I'm at spending half of that amount that I've budgeted, if I'm not at the return I'm at, I can turn off certain sectors of my paid media, turn up the other ones that are more guaranteed, like a remarketing campaign, and probably level out, You can't really do that with an influencer you just paid $10,000 a post that brought in 14 sales.
Right.
So that's the only part that I'll say is I think paid media gives you a little bit more tactical and data driven approach,
Hmm.
whereas influencers can get you to an extreme
Okay.
at any point. So if we had to start over again, I think we'd still just go 80-90% paid ads
Yeah.
versus influencers. And I think part of it though is because we don't have the Rolodex and say, yeah, I'll get in the hands of these 20 influencers.
Right.
That's not how we built our, I guess, our profile
Hmm.
almost. So but yeah, I think paid media is still the biggest opportunity in terms of get going tomorrow and say, hey, listen, I can start setting up the infrastructure through this.
Okay. Interesting. We've seen with all the rebrands that have happened, recently, including some legacy brands have gone through rebranding. Sometimes it resonates really well with the public, and other times it seems to fall flatter. It almost seems disingenuous the way the brands were brought up. Do
Yeah.
you do you think that is that more in the design? Is it in the communication of the rebranding? Is it maybe the users might see it as disingenuous to what the core values of the brand were when it first got off? And how do you navigate that as a marketing consultant when you're trying to get a brand to pivot one way or another, guiding them along the way? Because y'all may not be driving the change. They're obviously the ones that are
Of
coming to you
course.
with the change. But how do
Of course.
you go about and say, maybe this isn't the right fit for you?
Right. No, it's a good question, and I think it's actually one of the things that maybe kind of tore us apart from saying, you know what, I think this is kind of it for us. We don't want to do too much more in that part of the sector of the industry
Hmm.
because there honestly that one thing I kind of mentioned, which is like you kind of are looking at the environment and saying, hey, there's certain things that are working, and honestly, how many more variations of a design can you change? And then on the product end, with the idea of so much stuff shifting towards fully transparent and
Yeah.
everything being pretty much, there's a certain dosage that works. There's certain dosages that you can say, hey, this is not going to work. And with that being so clear cut, and then people have already gone out and created these loud brands, right?
Hmm.
How much more are you going to shift, right? Licensing is another level you can
Correct.
bring in, right? You
Yeah.
can bring certain certifications in, but how much more can you do to say this is why this is different? And that was that one question that when you can't keep answering it anymore,
Hmm.
that's when you're like, well, the industry has what it needs,
Yeah.
right? So to go back to the answer to your question is I think we try our best to be like, hey, this isn't really being any different.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes brand owners will say, oh well, there's this one thing that's really different, and when you take a step back, people don't even realize that you have that.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of overlap, and to be honest, in my mind, I almost look at it as like I think the industry has enough
Hmm.
to the point where it's like unless we can find more benefit driven products that have
Yeah.
different purposes, it's almost like what are you bringing different, and it's hard for us to sometimes be like, well, this is how you're going to really make it different. It sometimes needs to stem from the product,
Yeah.
because the design end of it, I mean, it is pretty vast in terms of the different styles,
Right.
and how much more can you add to that spectrum.
Hmm. Excellent. All right, so now we fast forward to the present, and you guys found Obvi. So, how did you arrive at the name of it, and then decide which way you wanted to, uh, the direction you wanted to take the brand? Because collagen, I mean, it's not as sexy as selling a pre-workout with 400, 500, 600 milligrams of caffeine, or
Right.
crazy pumps, nootropics, and all of that stuff. So, how did you guys arrive on the name of the brand, and kind of the angle that y'all saw with it?
Absolutely. So I'll start with the angle, which was if you kind of look at a couple of things. One is the pure science behind collagen, right? The pure science says your body stops naturally producing in most people. Your body stops producing collagen naturally in your 20s, mid 20s.
Hmm.
Um, Knowing that, right, and then knowing there's certain studies that suggest that your body loses about 1% of collagen per year after that, right? um, and when you put those two and two together and you say, okay, well, if by your mid-20s you're going to probably stop producing it, and then every year you're going to lose about 1%, no wonder by the time you're 50, right, you see the skin sagging, you see the hair loss, you see the brittle nails, and you see the knee surgeries and joint problems, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you take that problem and you're like, well, why aren't people just supplementing collagen earlier?
Mm-hmm.
And then you take that question and you say, well, what's out there? What attracts them? You know, and you look at so many products and brands being so pharmaceutical grade, like it's almost looks like it's made for a 60 or 70-year-old, right? And it comes down to the packaging, the labeling, you know, just simple stuff. And when we looked at that market and we're like, all right, well, there's tons of products out there for some, you know, for that older generation, right? But what about the people that should actually start supplementing this in their body, maybe in their millennial years, right? And that's where we saw the opportunity, where, you know, Vital, I think, does a good job at going mass market, right? But they haven't really said, hey, we're gonna go after this one group of people. You know, and again, it's not a good comparison. They're behemoths, right? It's a whole different game. So once you're masked, but point being, I think for us, it's been about, all right, well, there's a huge opportunity here where if we can cater some products towards this younger generation, younger moms, they're the people that should really start taking this product. So that kind of clicked, and then we saw that trend in the flavored protein, and then once that flavor clicked, okay, that's working. And then, you know, in terms of the name, I'll again credit it to Ankit. I think he kind of came up with it, just kind of on the spur. And for us, we wanted to look at collagen. I think he themed it off this, but we wanted to look at collagen and create a product that's like, if there's 10 collagens on the wall, which one are you going to pick, right? And we wanted to make it like, wait, this one tastes good. It's not some unflavored pharmaceutical looking product. And then third of all, you know, we want to make it fun, right? You want to post about this product. And so it was like, how do you become the obvious choice, right? Like if there's 10 out there, you're just going to pick up one. And so obvious choice, along with the idea of millennials, the word obvi, right, from Mean Girls, is that word that's like obvi. And if you look up that hashtag or you look up that the natural origin of that word, it is the obvious idea of something. So that, and then with the period, you're kind of putting an end to it, where you stop at obvi, you start at obvi, and you stop at obvi with your choices.
Fantastic, fascinating. That's I didn't even think about that, guys. I remember when Mean Girls came out, and it, you know, this is I'm turning in my man card by saying this, but I mean the movie is actually really funny, and then obviously Lindsay Lohan went and got crazy, and she went off the deep end. But I mean, when that movie came out, I think was that early 2000s. I think Sandy and I were in college when that came out, and I mean it's funny. It's definitely a funny movie. Even if you know it's not positioned towards guys, you can sit back and relax. It's not like overly romantic comedy or a chick flick or anything like that. So, man, that's good. So y'all launched with 2 flavors, and then you've obviously expanded the lineup since then. What drives the flavor creation or the flavor development or flavor releases? Is it feedback from fans? Is it personal flavors that you guys really like? How does that go?
Yeah, 100%. It's a good question. For us, it's everything starts at the core of our customer base. Whether when we had just like 100 customers to when we had 1,000 customers to when we have tens of thousands of customers, it's always been fueled by that. Everything begins and probably even ends with the survey. And it's truly, you know, we've built a Facebook community, right, which has nearly almost 1,500 members now, and growing every day. Almost every one of our customers funnels back there. Every person who we talk to, even on live chat or email, we tell them, come and check out our community. Because once you enter there, you're not going to leave without giving us some sort of feedback about the product, whether you're purchasing, whether you have a suggestion on something new. And we take and aggregate all of that. And they really pick the next one. So it's like, you know, for us, our third flavor was cocoa cereal. It was purely because it was requested. You know, we want something chocolate. Obviously, we're going to try and stay with our themes and our branding. That's on us, right? But what do you want in terms of, I want something for my coffee, something more light and sweeter, honey. right? What do you think
Yeah.
of honey? Frosted is more your vanilla people, right? And
Hmm.
they love it. It's their perfect suite of vanilla. Some of our next flavors that are coming out again are purely based on request.
Hmm.
And it's so much easier to kind of, instead of trying to say, hey, I know everything about my customer, just ask them, right? And they'll tell you. And I think everything we try and cater to, everything we're trying to create and have in the pipeline and coming out with, it's so much driven by the consumer,
Hmm.
and it takes out a lot of the guessing game for us.
Gotcha. We see a lot of brands, and I'm going to ask you to wear both hats at this time. So, as a brand owner, but also as a marketing guru, we see lots of brands do a limited edition releases of flavors, and so that may be something y'all consider doing, this
Yeah.
year or down the road or further down with Obvi as well with collagen. Do you find that kind of feeds into, I will say, that the ADD nature of customers where they're always looking for the next best thing? And do you think that's a smart business decision? Or is it better to have something that you are, you can always count on those staple flavors that we're always going to have this. You don't ever have to worry about us only making 500 units of it and being gone and you'll never see it for another year and a half or
Yeah.
something.
No, it's a great point. I think I'll answer it too. Is I think you have to set your lineup, right? You have to have your starting lineup when you go to a game. You have to have your starting lineup set. You can always have your six man, but it's that starting lineup and saying these are your flagship flavors. And whether you're looking for something, a hint of sweetness, your vanilla, your chocolates, your fruity, or your cinnamon, right? The people who like that little bit of savory twist. We have our flagship flavors, right? That
Yeah.
we know are beautiful flavors and people love. Um, but I do agree with the concept of creating flavors that will give some sort of buzz.
Hmm.
Um, and that usually starts kind of with the idea around, all right, well, I'm going to let you know I'm bringing out a new flavor, but this is not going to be a staple.
Yeah.
And it is part of our plan too. And I think there's a few brands, I'll be honest, like G Fuel, right?
Hmm.
Who is what I think 45 or 54 flavors or something like that, crazy
An
amount of
absurd amount. I
flavors
mean,
deep
it's
on a single.
good for them to do that. It's a mind-numbingly large amount of flavors.
It's insane. And I'd never want to get to that point, right? But the concept there is people almost start feeling like they're collectors of it, right?
Hmm.
And I gotta try them all, gotta have them all. Another one, Flavor God, right? They're what 20 something seasonings in,
Yeah.
flavors, and that concept just works because sometimes once you build the trust of, hey, I love this, people actually love the concept of, okay, I know the basis of the product is beautiful and I love it.
Hmm.
Now I want that new flavor. I want to try something new. I want to try that new topping right on that pizza.
Yeah.
So I think that concept you have, if you find the right mix,
Hmm.
don't run out of your core, but bring that little bit of like supreme feel of,
Hmm.
hey, we are going to drop something new
Yeah.
and this is not going to stick around. I think there's a right time for it. I don't think you do it right out the gate though.
Okay. Well said. With the peptides that y'all use in there, y'all use hydrolyzed grass-fed bovine collagen peptides. You're going to find various forms of collagen. Some of them are not so good. Some of them are better than others. How do you go about educating the consumer, saying the stuff we're using is a little bit better than like the mass market dumpster fire collagen you might see at the store?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I think that part has been. I don't know if it's tricky or if it's actually like because we're so online focused. Okay, and I think this is where it's going to be tricky for us when we pivot more into retail, not pivot, but add retail as a lineup.
Hmm.
We don't really need to tell someone why we're better with than XYZ product,
Hmm.
right? Right now because people who are coming to us, they're coming on a flavor first approach, content first approach. Okay.
Hmm.
And this is more so just kind of telling you kind of our journey, right, of the customer.
Yeah.
When they come and say, oh, wow, this looks cool. What is it? Right.
Yeah.
I think our landing page, our assets do a good job of saying, hey, listen, benefit next approach, which is hair, skin, nails, joints. Are you worried about any of those? Well, then, did you know collagen can help with all this, right? Now, the people who are going to keep going down that funnel, and you'll see the placement of it too within our funnel,
Hmm.
Those are the people that will get down to what is hydrolyzed, why is this one better versus this one.
Hmm.
But you'll be surprised how many people don't necessarily need to be sold on the on why you're better.
Hmm.
Just sometimes just want to know why I need this
Yeah,
product, you know. And I think again, it's a different market than the pre workouts, the whey protein, isolate protein. Like it's
definitely.
a whole different market, and I think that's where it becomes a little bit different for us.
Hmm.
But luckily, and I don't. Although now, when you go into retail and you have like your neo cells of collagen, right,
Hmm.
which are selling for $13, yeah, that becomes tricky, right, because it's like you have to now educate not just on the idea of benefits, taste, and why your brand, but also, hey, listen, look at the quality and the source of what's actually in it.
Right.
And I don't think we've had to we've found a need to do that just yet online.
Hmm.
I think that's gonna come into a big aspect into when we start pumping out retail
Okay.
and as we.
Do you? Uh, Retail is often described as being dead, and brick and mortars are just gradually going the way of the dinosaurs. You guys
Yeah.
are an internet first company, obviously, and you've mentioned a couple of times eventually welcoming in brick and mortar retail. Do you see
Mm-hmm.
that as a vital piece in the supplement purchasing chain? Is it just an untapped consumer market, or people just, and especially given the current circumstances, is online basically the way to go these days, and just kind of maybe we'll do some limited partnerships with retail and maybe not?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I think part of it, I try to be as least biased as I can
Hmm.
in this approach because I think you almost have to be right as a brand owner. You
Yeah.
can't let the idea of not being educated enough in a certain space. Like we don't know B2B, and we're the first to say it. All of us,
Yeah.
we don't. That's not our expertise. We'll go toe to toe with you on digital marketing, but B2B is not our expertise. However, since we launched, I mean, even just within the first 3 months, getting into a partner like Nutrition Systems,
Hmm.
right? In New Zealand and Australia, we've had 2 cycles of selling out there. And then
Awesome.
seeing, so international exposure is great. We've been doing well in Canada through a partner we're working with there. We just got into the Philippines, and we're growing. Working with our relationship with Sportica, and obviously troubled time right now with international being closed down. But what we're seeing is there's some stimulation between just if you keep pumping online and the
Hmm.
demand just keeps coming and you're fueling that demand and you're growing, there's a certain scenario that's happening for us where it's like retail is almost coming to us
Hmm.
through those channels, right?
Yeah.
We don't have anyone on our B2B team. We don't have anyone doing outreach, but anything we're in right now is because it came as an opportunity to us.
Yeah.
And we've seized that opportunity and saying, hey, listen, if we have the inventory and it's not going to put us in danger of getting out of stock online,
Hmm.
fuel it. Give it what it needs. We'll give you concept, creative, everything support wise.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding.com, right? Same thing. It was like, once we kind of got on there, we won brand of the month last month. And, we've been doing really well on it, but it's
Yeah.
never like, guys, let's slow down here and just focus on that opportunity.
Right.
I think every time, any month or any day, we'll look at this as a brand. I don't
Hmm.
think, no matter what the scenario comes out of it, I don't think we'll ever put retail above e-commerce.
Okay.
It's not enough control for us,
Right.
but it's not retail is something we understand can give us that mass opportunity to
Yeah.
get the exposure and come back and fuel online as well.
Correct. Yeah, and there's a bigger profit margin to be made. I would assume with D2C online resale or online retailing than going through brick and mortar or any kind of a middleman with distribution and all of that stuff too.
Yeah, retention's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Uh, the next project, moving on from the collagen protein where y'all launched with, most recently, y'all have launched a complete kids protein, which Justin and I covered a few episodes back on our weekly Thursday
Yes,
chats. Where did the idea from this come? The origin for this come? Walk us through that because it's a really intriguing product. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So like to kind of go back to the point where I was like, a lot of stuff comes fueled from our customers. And the second layer to that is we're very data driven people. Any decision we make has to be justified. There's no gut. So when we put those two things together, one of the things we learned is our market is moms, young moms, moms with kids around the ages of 4, 3 years old. We have an excellent partner named Brittany who works with us. She handles a lot of our affiliate and community management. And so she's really in kind of the grapevines of talking to each customer too. Yeah. And what we learned is our collagen product, so many customers would post on Instagram and whatnot. But a lot of what people would post is they were giving it to their kids as well. We don't advise it. We don't recommend it. We don't even advertise that. Mm-hmm. But collagen is something that parents have given to their kids, and they continue to do so. Yeah. And what we took that as all right, well, what if we just explore the idea of providing something for the kids? Mm-hmm. And something that was kind of thought of as a smaller scale, hey, let's come out with one product, this and that. Once we started sounding this idea with our customer base and asking them, and them validating this idea of, yes, I do want this. Yeah. That's where it became like, all right, well, let's give it a shot. We just launched 37 days ago. Right. And it's almost getting to the same amount of sales as our collagen. So it's been phenomenal. And I think this whole experience, if you go to our website, the whole experience starts around mommy and me. Our bundles are called Mommy and Me, Active Mom, the Green Mom. And I know we're probably losing out on certain traffic that's a dad, right? Or that may not feel like, oh, this is for me. But when you hone in on a certain focus, sometimes you're able to get more out of that than getting a little piece of each of the different segments. Yeah. So that's the focus we went on. And honestly, we looked at what's on the market, right? You have two routes in the kids market. One is that organic, right, where you have your Orgain, you have your superfoods by Kids Superfoods by Amazon, and a couple other brands, and then you have your Pediasure. And we said, well, how do we fit in the middle? We don't want to be the sugary 40 added items, 40 other ingredient added items. But we also don't want to be something that kids taste once and they hate it, which is what happens with the organic route, unless you have a strict mindset. Okay. So we went right down the middle. We said, we're going to have a product that has maybe sucralose, but we're going to cut out all the other stuff that's not needed. Yeah. We want flavor to be good. And once we nailed that, and we started shipping it out, and you see, the customers respond to it, and just these kids actually, like, we have a lot of parents that have kids in the sensory realm, where, with kids that are, have this certain disabilities, and just them experiencing the product and loving it because it touches their senses differently. Yeah. We never had that intention, but to see that happen, it almost makes you like, all right, well, let's get behind this product even more.
Excellent. How did y'all arrive on the amount of, I guess, protein and vitamins that y'all wanted to add to the kids' formula? Because it's obviously their nutritional requirements are going to be different than an adult's, which most dietary supplements are made for, at least in the space that you and I deal with. It's mostly always dealing with adults. So how did y'all arrive at the dosages and the amount of protein, carbs, and all that stuff that you wanted to include in the formula?
100%. So obviously, data in terms of what's on the market, right? Everything that was on the market stood between an 8 to 12 gram serving. We kind of went right in the middle because there was probably the most amount of products had 10 grams of serving. Okay. And again, for us, a lot of stuff happens where we pivot as we learn. So for us, that was a good starting point. In terms of the vitamin and mineral profile, that's where we felt. And, this had nothing to do with COVID and all of this timing. Timing-wise, we launched at a time where every kid is at home and there's so much importance around it. But wanted to be pretty hefty on the vitamin and mineral profile because what you'll see is our profile is not any bigger than a lot of these brands like a Pediasure. What you'll see is our DV, our daily value, is actually at higher levels.
Right.
And that was important for us because, the whole, smaller dosage thing, I'm not going to comment one way or the other. People choose to do what they want with their products. But with, kids especially on a vitamin profile, it almost seems like that's a necessity,
Yeah.
So we wanted we had to spend a little bit more money to make sure that was obviously there in terms of the quality of the product. And then the other thing was 15 servings. At the end of the day, it's a whey protein, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to still take into consideration costs and stuff like that. So
Correct.
we found our way to balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think we went kind of middle of the road, where it's not something that's super organic and the perfect for that vegan mom, right? But
Right.
it's also not something that's so unhealthy, just loaded up with 27 grams of sugar.
Correct.
So we wanted to be there, but we also didn't want to lose the idea of you could, with the whole milk and maybe some added other ingredients, could possibly use this as a weight gaining option or a supplementation option for your child. It's not a meal replacement.
Right.
We don't market it as that. We don't market it as this is going to put on weight for your child, but there is ways to incorporate elements of the recipe book we send out with every order
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the child is getting supplemental benefits. And then there are lots of parents that are worried about the weight of their children, where they give this with water, right? Now you've given them a healthier 100-calorie snack than those mini Oreos packets.
Correct.
That market as 100 calories. So
Absolutely.
I think that was kind of that middle of the road we wanted to find.
Excellent. Yeah, we've done smoothies with our daughter. She likes. We've got obviously a pretty hefty selection of proteins around here, and so, but her favorite is chocolate, and so that's one way we'll sneak in some kind of vegetables because she eats really well. She'll eat meats and cheeses and a few fruits, but by and large, like most kids, she doesn't do much with vegetables unless you sneak it in there. So smoothies are that way, and I'm sure the recipe book that y'all send out includes ways to work this into smoothies where you can also slip your kid some greens, and the added vitamins from that I think are a good option too, because most whey proteins, since they're marketed for adults, don't include vitamins in it unless it's some kind of a meal replacement like you mentioned earlier.
Right. No, that's what you just mentioned, and if you ever like look at our group, you'll see that exact scenario happen so much. And now with our product too, they're adding spinach. They're trying to sneak in certain things, and I think it's because of the flavor. It's a little bit easier, and I think it really boils down to that. That initial flavor profile has to hit home.
Absolutely.
For the child.
One thing, when y'all announced the release of the product in the Supplement Snoop Insider group, there were some comments saying, well, I don't know if I feel safe giving this to my kid unless I see third-party lab tests. And I understand that. I think third-party lab testing is good, and I wish every company did that. But at the same time, I'm wondering, are you asking to see the third-party lab test on a Snickers bar or a bag of Doritos that you might be giving your kid? It seems, like you're kind of almost talking out of both sides of your mouth, unless you are a parent that actually does not give your kid any kind of crap or prop blended, food, and everything is just an apple, a broccoli stalk, or something like that. So I found that interesting. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or not, or.
Yeah, I think we have got, especially with the kids and stuff, we're taking every precaution from day one, because it's very important too. So we have gotten our third party testing done, and those that have requested it, we have obviously given it to them, and and even with Justin, I'll always share my COAs, and I think you have to have that level of transparency. Now, I don't agree though, where there are parents that will say, "Hey, this has sucralose. This is toxic for your child." Because I can almost guarantee you there is 90% of those parents are probably also giving their kid Oreos. And if you balance out the profile, right, sucralose was actually created as an alternative to sugar, right? So you're giving them products that probably have both. And so here we're trying to create a solution that's not saying it's some crazy healthy and perfectly clean product, but it's a alternative to say, hey, listen, don't give them that Hershey chocolate milkshake, right? Give them the Obvi Kids chocolate milkshake, because you're cutting back on a lot of the things they don't need. So I have my sentiments around it, but at the end of the day, you're not dealing with an adult, you're dealing with a parent. And so you kind of have to just be like, we totally understand. Maybe there's better products for you out there. and you have to kind of shrug your shoulder because everyone's not going to be a winner. But for us, we don't try and hide around the idea of it's not organic. We don't try to hide around the idea of, oh, we didn't put sucralose. We rather say, hey, listen, we put these things because they're a little bit better in terms of their creation from some of the alternatives you're probably giving your kid to snack on right now.
Correct. Yeah. Well put. Have y'all gotten any requests for larger serving sizes? So y'all have 30 serving collagen stuff. Are you getting requests for like a 52 serve or a 60 serve or something along those lines?
The families with 2 or more kids, I feel for them. I mean, we try and, again, if they come to the community and be like, can you guys help us out? We'll always help out with that. Those are where we're getting the requests, where there are families that, we've seen they'll pick up 6 of these because it's like if their kids are requesting it, right, and they're giving them something nutritious, they're not going to stop them, but they'll run through one of these if you got 3 or 4 kids, you'll run through this in a week.
Right.
So it's something we're working on. It is a pretty big scoop size. So you'll have to go bigger tub size. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of elements that have to work out for itself. The fact that we do get each one third party tested, there's a lot of inherent costs that people don't realize go into, hey, this is how much a whey protein should cost. It's a little bit more than that. So I think it's something we're working on. The biggest thing that we've gotten requests on, which we're going to have soon, is subscriptions. People just want this now delivered to their door without thinking about it because they're giving it as a constant.
What about with the super collagen protein? Are y'all getting requests for larger tub sizes of that, and are y'all having discussions on whether to release that or not?
So it's a good question. I actually always thought we would. I think we haven't. Because there's usually 2 ways, right? You can go bigger size or you give more variations. Because we have so many flavor variations, you'll see a lot of people, they'll say, you know what, I've picked up 2 or 3. And I'll take my time. And that's actually a 90 serve, right? You pick up 2 or 3 flavors, it's a 90 serve.
Right.
And so we haven't actually gotten many requests on going 45 or 60 servings or even bigger, just because I think people look at it as, well, I'm going to pick up 3 for the next 3 months, but I'm going to have 3 flavors, or I'll pick up 2 of one flavor and 1 of the other. So, I mean, I think it's actually allowing people to try more and be less hesitant to try our other flavors.
Yeah. Excellent. So y'all start with collagen protein. The kids' protein is whey protein concentrate. Do y'all ever see or envision, and this might feed into the next topic where I start to discuss, upcoming products for the rest of the year. Do y'all foresee releasing either a whey protein product for adults, or maybe a whey casein blend or something like that, or do you see that as maybe cannibalizing some sales from the collagen, since that's kind of what y'all entered the space with?
Yeah, I think we're gonna stay away from that. And just kind of clear point out of there. It's like at the end of the day, we're catering to a market, and we want to just focus on that so much. Where a lot of times you have the discussion of who else is playing in this market with you, right? And it's not to say it in a cocky way, because it has nothing to do with that. We're not egomaniacs or anything, but we just kind of say, like, we're not playing with anyone, because we're just focused on our own thing, where we're trying to, anything we come out with, we want to do it for our community, and they're going to choose what's next. They're part of the company. It's not, what a lot of people may say or not. It's, for us, it really is. If they want this next, like some of the innovation that's coming up, it's because they said, hey, listen, we want this next. And so for us, we see these people. We have a lot of stationary moms, right? That we have a lot of people that are looking for just a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And so if that's our demo, we just want to stick with that. Instead of confusing, because the minute we get a whey protein, the first question that's going to come through our live chat, what's the difference?
Right.
And yes, we could probably capture more market share with that idea. So on business end, probably makes more sense, but on a purely a brand built with our consumers, it just doesn't make sense.
Excellent. Obviously, the labels on the collagen protein are pink, and you've mentioned that the crux of your consumer base is either females or moms. Is there ever a desire or a drive, or maybe plans to, I guess, reach across the aisle and branch it out, maybe change some of the labeling to make it more guy focused, or still reach some other guys? Because obviously men can benefit from collagen too, especially men, on average, if I'm going to make, generalizations here and probably irritate somebody, but girls typically gravitate more towards cardio, guys gravitate more towards resistance training and lifting weights. But, collagen is still, both forms of physical activity are going to put wear and tear on your joints to where guys may not understand the importance of collagen. Now, maybe, because collagen is always positioned for hair, skin, nails, but it's also, collagen is the main structural protein in the entire body. So all the structures surrounding your joints are part of that. So, is there maybe a want or desire or plans to maybe start trying to also reach this out to guys and say, hey, this isn't just, for girls. This is also, ignore the pink tub. It stands out and it looks great on the shelf, but you can benefit from this too.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And it's a good question. We're on live chat all day and we'll see the question, can my husband have this? Mm-hmm. He takes sips of it already. And we don't want to ever get the messaging wrong where it's like men can't have collagen. That there's no such thing. It's exactly what you said. Everybody benefits from it. It's the most abundant protein. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I think for us, kind of like the ideals of how we've said, we want to stick with this theme, this group of people that we feel is a really, really massive piece of a pie. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I think for us, it's like if we keep that focus, you almost, yes, you're probably, again, skipping out on this group of people, but you're catering so heavily to this group of people that you can get very, very dense with that, with that group. And it's a huge group, right? Yeah. You're talking 25 to 50-year-old women that are especially moms. Right. It's a big, big group. And it's also a big buying network. And so it's almost like when you start introducing more things, right? You have to realize that everything has to be, as you know, everything's real estate, even on your website, right? Everything is about real estate. And how you build your property is going to be how other people shop. Yeah. And so for us, it's like, all right, well, if you create one blue label bottle, right? Mm-hmm. Where is that going to go? Is that go on the hero image? And if you think so e-commerce friendly first, it's like the answer is don't do it. Right. Yeah, stick with what's going and go deeper and deeper. Go longer on your offerings rather than going super horizontal. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be our approach. We always say on live chat, real men drink pink, and just and try and make it playful. But I think one thing where is an opportunity for us is explaining that this is for both men and women. Mm-hmm. I think that is something we will definitely work on, and as we mature, to incorporate that better.
Great. Shifting tactics now to the collagenic fat burner that y'all released. With the collagen products, obviously it's in the name, it's got collagen in there. Y'all have an interesting assembly of collagen types in there. So you've got bovine collagen, you've got beef hydrolyzed bone broth collagen, you've got fish collagen, chicken bone broth collagen, and eggshell membrane. Yeah, I guess, and some of the other collagen forms that people might be used to seeing on the market are something like UC2, where it's got a smaller serving size. It's only 40 milligrams compared to your 1,000 milligram dose. And it's also a different type of collagen versus what is in the actual collagen protein powder y'all have. So how did y'all decide which form of collagen you wanted to, the dosage? Walk us through a little bit of that.
Sure. I think one of the core factors on the burner, and similar to our initial collagen release too. This is V1, right? This is our version 1. And a lot of it was, there's a couple factors involved. One is, how do we cater to some of the questions, some of the needs that people have had? One has always been, why is your collagen only type 1 and type 3, right? Do you have a collagen that's all the types? Because there's certain issues besides just the more so hair, skin, nails, and ligament stuff that you get from the 2, 3, 4, right? I mean, the 2, 4, 5, matrix. And so we wanted to take this opportunity and say, all right, well, lower dosage, obviously, but let's see if we can actually incorporate all 5 collagens in another product of ours. Yeah. And so when we were working with R&D, I think for us, the answer was more so, if you want to find a way to incorporate 5 collagens, right? And incorporate this idea of a market for it. This is a way to do it, and this is probably one way to kind of incorporate it right away. So it's more so to kind of almost offer a second offering in our collagen. Besides it being a capsule version,
Yeah.
also just the idea of having all five.
Excellent. Moving on to some more lighthearted topics. We've kind of gotten in the weeds with a lot of things. You've sent Justin and I a profile for a potential upcoming product. I don't know if you want to get into that one, or can you maybe highlight some other products that may be in the works or other flavors or something?
Yeah, sure. We can go into I won't say the name of that product, but I'll come back to that product. But in terms of flavors, what's really cool is we're going to do something really fun in June. It's going to be our 1 year birthday, June 1st, coming up, right? And we're going to do a special release flavor, and actually going to make it only customer exclusive. The only way you can buy the flavor is if you were a previous customer of ours.
That's interesting. That's I don't think I've seen any other brand. Other brands may have done this before, but I don't think I've seen that advertising or marketing tactic done before. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, for us, it's like, just give back. Like, we'll have it promoted and stuff, but you can only qualify for that purchase if you are a returning purchaser. I think it's gonna be exciting because it's gonna be a limited flavor. We're only gonna release every birthday of ours. So it's going to be fun, and I think that's going to be a very exciting time just to see where how people navigate around that concept, which is like, hey, do I go buy something and then tomorrow I can come back and buy it? Because we have a lot of those people that buy something, come to our community, read everything, and are like, oh, I just went and bought the burner, right? Or I just went and bought the kids protein. Right. So I'm very curious to see how this works. So that's going to be very exciting. We have some really, really cool flavors. We want to get to the point where we're doing maybe a couple of flavors every few months. We're never going to get to a flavor a month. It's too much. It's too hard. But we're going to try and do at least one flavor every 2 to 3 months. And so now till at least the end of Christmas, end of the year, sorry, not Christmas, but end of the year, we're at least hoping, right now we have at least two, I would say, guaranteed flavors that are coming out, going for a third or fourth. You a lot more on the thematic end, your pumpkins and your Christmas flavors and giving a little bit more creativity to the cereal theme that we've had, which is still going to be our staples. So that's on the flavor end, and the kids is actually really fun. We have 2 really cool flavors coming out. So we're gonna have 4 total, and then we have a few other cool kids products coming out too. That's gonna be really fun. And so lot in the innovation line. Like to keep kind of things a surprise in that end. But I think I think the fascination around the cookies and cream, the pumpkins, spice lattes, gingerbread. Those are the concepts we're going to try and incorporate this fall and really make it warm and fuzzy. And then, on the kids' end, just more so go down that cereal line because there are some kids that are obsessed with some other cereal. So, and then, the profile I sent you and Justin, that's an exciting product for us. Again, more on the lighter end of that product in terms of formulation because we want to make it not too overbearing, just again with our consumer base. But the concept is you see the greens, you see the reds out there. You take this concept, you create this really cool concept of pinks, which is thematic, of course, but it comes from the reds and the whites, right? And I think we're so excited about that product because it's like the whole immunity concept's there, right? It's growing, but our flavors came out really good, really tasty. And so flavor wise, I think it's going to be a home run, but then I think profile wise, I think we're getting there. We're still tinkering with it, but excited for it.
Yeah. I've got a question for you because I was looking at it ahead of us jumping on here, and there's something I'm going to ask you offline, about the formula. I won't give anything away about it.
Absolutely.
Is there, any requests for the collagen proteins to have inclusions? Because we've seen that kind of be a trend in the industry as of late, either in the kids formula or in the collagen protein to go with inclusions. Since y'all obviously go riff on the cereal flavors.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're exploring, right? The one thing where again we're trying to be very tactical is it throws off your macros. It also throws off your other ingredients column, which people, when they're sometimes when we even explored inclusions, we didn't realize that, of course, you have to have a profile for what's incorporated in that inclusion.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes your label can be this large in just ingredients
Yeah.
because of that one inclusion that's probably 1/10 of or 1/20th of your product.
Correct.
So that part has been very tricky to navigate, but we're looking at ways to still be able to keep our non-GMO, zero carbs, zero sugar concept,
Yeah.
and be able to do the inclusions.
Outstanding. Yeah, we reviewed some protein powder not too long ago, and just like you said, I mean, the regular was like whey protein, digestive enzymes, sucralose, salt, natural artificial flavors, and then there's like 86 ingredients from the cereal piece inclusions that were going on.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, I understand what in there, and but the uninformed, just average consumer is going to see that, and they're going to think, what in the hell am I putting in my body? When if they would just look at a box of cereal, it would be the exact same thing.
Because they're not going to read that one little word in black that says inclusions ingredients, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to put two and two together. So
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's been our biggest concern.
Yeah. Give us a little bit of insight into what your personal supplementation regimen is, if any.
Absolutely. So collagen every morning since last year, and then daily vitamins. And I think while we were still very mobile, still supplementing the collagen with a certain type of whey protein. Just a huge fan of the ghost proteins and the flavors there. But other than that, I mean, pretty standard and simple there. I think I'm very excited for our immunity product that's going to be coming out. Definitely going to be putting that into corporation as well.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this up and put a bow on it, my man?
No, I think I'll say one thing. Love what you and Justin do. I mean, I'm a huge fan even before we started Obvi. But I think love the support, and always also even when you guys are talking about it just one-on-one on your different podcasts and your videos. I think it's so important to be kind of unattached to certain scenarios that you may be attached to and still provide that feedback. For us, it's so important where if someone says, hey, listen, this isn't what you should have in here, we're going to say, okay, well, your thoughts are going right into V2. And that's what we did with our collagen, right? What we released in June is not what we had in August. Right. Same thing with kids. Everything wants, if you don't evolve, either someone else is going to evolve and do it before you, or just evolve and get it to the point of perfection where it's bulletproof. But making something bulletproof takes time. So I think that's our biggest goal. Just keep the feedback coming, and we don't take anything the wrong way.
Yeah, I would say I would commend you guys on that. And there's other brand owners that are in the supplement snoop group that are transparent with stuff or are open to criticism. And I'd like to thank you for being I would say one of the good guys that you're receptive to inputs from it. And if somebody asks you a question or why is it like this, you're not going to blanket anything and say, oh, well, that's what our marketing says or something like that. It's you're willing to have an open dialogue about it. So that's something, him and I very much appreciate. I'm sure the rest of the consumers do as well, too.
Absolutely. No, I think that's, keep that coming from you guys. It helps us tremendously. I'm sure you guys don't get to see that end of it, but it helps us tremendously.
Excellent. Well, man, thank you for doing this. And this is the part of the show where you can shamelessly plug anything and everything you want to about Obvi.
Well, check out myobvi.com. I mean, whether it's for your kids or yourself or just to explore some of the stuff we have. And I think our biggest thing is come to our community. If you even just are not even into collagen at all or any of the products, come and just see the people, come and talk to them. And there's a lot of people with similar scenarios that you can probably connect and learn a lot on.
Excellent. I'll include links to everything in the show notes. And thank you again, sir, for your time. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Robert.